Some nights don't feel quiet because the world is asleep. They feel quiet because there is no one left to listen. Big houses are like that. They look full from the outside, wide halls, high ceilings, endless windows. But once the lights go down, they reveal how empty they really are. That night, Michael Jackson was alone inside one of those houses, a mansion overlooking the ocean, surrounded by walls meant to protect him from the world. He lay on his bed, staring up at the ceiling, the soft glow of the room barely touching his face. The sheets were perfectly arranged, smooth and untouched, as if no one had ever truly lived there. Everything around him reflected success, precision, control. But none of it reached him. All day long, people had surrounded him, voices calling his name, hands reaching out, cameras flashing, faces filled with admiration. Everywhere he went, he was seen. And yet, as the night settled in and the house grew still, that attention dissolved completely. The applause didn't follow him upstairs. The cheers didn't sit beside him in the dark. Only the silence did. Michael shifted slightly, folding his hands over his chest, listening to the distant sound of the ocean outside. The waves moved steadily, endlessly, as if they had somewhere to be. He wondered when he had stopped feeling that way, when movement had turned to repetition and purpose into routine. Fame had given him everything people believed mattered: wealth, recognition, immortality in the eyes of the world. But it had also taken something quietly, something no one ever warned him about: the ability to be known as simply himself. In the stillness of the room, a question formed, one he had never said out loud. How could a man be loved by millions and still feel unseen? The clock on the wall ticked softly, marking time he felt slipping past him. He thought about the years filled with stages and lights, about the endless expectations that followed him everywhere. Even here, in the privacy of his own home, he felt like he was performing, like he was expected to be something more than human. His eyelids grew heavy, not with peace, but with exhaustion. He wasn't tired of life. He was tired of carrying it alone. As his eyes finally closed, the silence began to change. The darkness behind his eyelids softened, warmed. The boundaries of the room faded, and without effort, without resistance, Michael slipped into sleep. And somewhere between one breath and the next, the loneliness loosened its grip. The dream was waiting. The dream didn't fade when he woke up. It stayed with him, clinging to his thoughts long after his eyes opened. Michael lay still for a moment, staring into the dim light of the room, trying to convince himself it had been nothing more than his imagination. But his heart wouldn't agree. There was something about that place, something about her that felt too real to ignore. When he finally stood up and walked toward the bathroom mirror, he barely recognized the man looking back at him. His eyes carried a quiet confusion, mixed with a kind of longing he hadn't felt in years. He moved through the morning slowly, distracted, replaying the dream again and again in his mind. The red earth beneath his feet, the warmth in the air, the sound of distant laughter, and her, always her. He tried to focus on his routine, on the familiar comforts of his life, but nothing held his attention for long. Every thought drifted back to that moment when their eyes met. There was no dialogue in the dream, no dramatic confession, yet it had spoken to him more clearly than words ever could. It wasn't desire that pulled at him. It was recognition, as if some part of him had been searching for her long before he ever knew she existed. Later that day, unable to shake the feeling, Michael picked up the phone and called someone he trusted deeply, a friend who knew how to listen without judgment. He began to describe the woman carefully, choosing his words as if each detail mattered. He spoke of her skin, warm and dark like the earth itself, of her hair, full and alive, moving as if it had a rhythm of its own, of her eyes, calm yet intense, eyes that seemed to hold stories older than time. His friend listened quietly, then reached for a pencil. As the drawing slowly took shape, Michael watched in silence. With every line, his breath grew shorter. When the sketch was finally finished and turned toward him, his chest tightened. The face on the paper matched the woman from his dream almost perfectly. For a long moment, he said nothing. He simply stared, as if afraid the image might disappear if he looked away. This was no longer just a dream. It was something calling him forward. He folded the paper carefully, as though it were fragile, and held it in his hands. Somewhere deep inside, a certainty settled in. He didn't know where she was. He didn't know who she was, but he knew this much. She existed. And if she existed, he had to find her. That night, as he lay back down in the same luxurious bed, the silence no longer felt empty. It felt charged, alive with possibility. His heart was restless, not with fear, but with purpose. For the first time in a long while, Michael wasn't running from loneliness. He was walking toward something unknown, toward a woman he had only seen in a dream, yet somehow already loved. And as sleep finally took him once more, one quiet thought echoed clearly in his mind. Some dreams aren't meant to be forgotten. Some dreams are meant to be followed. Morning came slowly, as if the day itself wasn't in a hurry to begin. Sunlight filtered through the tall windows of the villa, soft and golden, touching the walls, but failing to warm the space inside. Michael sat at the edge of his bed for a long time before standing up. The dream was still there, not fading like most dreams do, but settling deeper into him with every passing minute. He walked through the house, barefoot, the marble floors cool beneath his feet, the silence following him from room to room. In the kitchen, everything was prepared with care. Fresh fruit, warm bread, coffee waiting to be poured, a breakfast fit for someone who had everything. He sat down, took a sip, and realized he wasn't hungry. His body was present, but his mind was far away, somewhere beyond the walls of the mansion, somewhere closer to that red earth and firelight. He leaned back in his chair and exhaled slowly. This wasn't restlessness. It was direction. For years, his life had been planned down to the smallest detail by others. Schedules, appearances, expectations. But this feeling was different. It didn't ask for permission. It didn't explain itself. It simply insisted. He stood up, walked toward the front windows, and looked outside. Parked neatly in the driveway was a long black limousine, polished to perfection, waiting as it always did. For a moment, he studied it, the symbol of the life he knew so well: comfort, distance, control. Then he turned away. He reached for his phone and made a call. His voice was calm, almost casual, as if he were asking for something ordinary. He didn't want the limousine. He wanted something small, something simple, a yellow Volkswagen, the kind of car that didn't announce your arrival, the kind that blended into the road instead of dominating it. When the car arrived, Michael stepped outside and felt the air on his face. The sun was higher now, the day fully awake. His friend handed him the keys, confused but silent. Michael smiled briefly, took them, and got into the car himself. No driver, no entourage, just him. As the engine started, something inside him shifted. It felt like shedding a weight he had been carrying for far too long. The road opened up ahead, stretching farther than he could see. He drove without music at first, listening only to the sound of the engine and his own breathing. The city slowly fell away behind him. Buildings gave way to open roads. Roads gave way to landscapes that felt untouched and honest. Mountains rose in the distance. Rivers cut through the land like quiet promises. Highways carried him forward, mile after mile, as if the world itself were guiding him onward. He drove for hours, then days, stopping only when necessary, sleeping lightly, waking with the same image in his mind, her face, her eyes. The longer he traveled, the lighter he felt. His name no longer mattered. His fame stayed behind, somewhere between exits on the highway. Out here, he was simply a man chasing something he couldn't explain but refused to ignore. At night, sitting alone in small roadside rooms or resting in the car beneath open skies, he would unfold the drawing carefully and look at it again. Each time, the certainty grew stronger. This journey wasn't reckless. It was inevitable. Somewhere beyond the mountains and roads, beyond the borders and expectations, there was a place waiting for him. And in that place, there was a woman who had already found him once in a dream. Now, he was coming to find her awake.